Welcome to the Design Dash podcast, your guide to designing a life you love. Join us as we explore the keys to living the life you want without compromise. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Design Dash podcast. I am your co-host, Melissa Grove, and I'm here with my co-host, Laurie Landscape. Hey, everybody. And today's guest is Jamie Young. She is the co-founder alongside her husband of Jamie Young Co., a brand known for its effortlessly elegant, globally inspired home furnishings. And you do everything: lighting, decor, mirrors, art, side tables. I know you just came out of High Point, so we'll talk about that a little bit. And what you're really doing, I think, is balancing the creative side with your business savvy side. And I think that's a lot of what our audience really wants to know more about. So we're going to dive into how you've built a design career that's as soulful as it is successful. So thank you for being here, Jamie.
Well, thank you guys. I'm really excited to be here and have this conversation.
Yeah. And it's almost a kind of a continuation because our wonderful editor, Elizabeth, who I think you already know, she interviewed you for one of our very first Women in Their Own Words features. If you guys haven't read it, read it. It's great. Jamie talks a lot about her inspirations. I think she mentioned some persons in there. We have some great photos too. And so you talked about your inspirations and your creative approach. But for those who haven't yet read the article, what's the first thing our audience should know about you?
I think that I started the business 28 years ago, and I really just dove in head first. There was nothing in me that didn't want to do this. I was pregnant with my first son. My mom kept saying to me, "How are you going to do this? Isn't that a lot? Are you crazy?" Yeah. And my husband was a sculptor and a painter, and we had an idea and we just went for it. I think what I would love people to know is that the grit, the hustle, all that kind of stuff is what really started me. I wanted a creative life. I wanted an independent life. I wanted to travel the world. I had all these big aspirations. I also knew that it was going to not be easy. I could have taken an easier path for sure. So I think that what I'd love people to know is that me, the person, us, the company, was really founded on a love of great design and a love of running a business, of selling a product, of being an old school maker, let's say, right? I don't like to use the word old, but someone who's been around a little bit of time that knew how to make something and sell it to the creative people out there looking for something beautiful.
And so you launched in 97, right? And if you could sit down with that version of yourself today, like take yourself back,
yeah,
what would you say to her? And what do you think she'd be most surprised by?
Well, I would definitely say to her, it always works out. Don't worry, it works out.
One way or another, it's working out.
One way or another, you get through it. I would say to her that every failure helped you get to the next place. And so to take a deep breath. I think that's the biggest lesson, is to take a beat. I remember when my son was born and I was breastfeeding him on my lap and I was on the phone. There was no internet. There were no computer. I had a fax machine sitting on my table. And I needed to get something done. And I was faxing orders to a little village in Mexico. And I remember feeling like I had to do it. It was also urgent. I think that that's really important, right? That's what drives us. That's how you make things happen. But I do want to tell my old self, take a beat. Maybe you don't need to breastfeed while you're doing the fax machine. I think that was when I look back at it, I just wish I could have taken a few more beats. I could have taken a deep breath and done one thing at a time, and I would still have gotten it done. And then the other question was, what would my old self be surprised about? Is that the question?
Yeah. Yes.
I think they'd be surprised at how far I've come, right? We believe that we can do it, but I had these big ideas. I couldn't predict what was going to happen again on the dot-com world. I couldn't predict how quickly brands in the home furnishing business could have grown. So I probably would have been like, wow, we did something cool, and we're continuing to.
Where does this grit, this hustle, that sense of urgency, this like wanting to build or grow something, where does this come from for you? Like, could you pinpoint it?
I think that I was fortunate from a very young age that I wanted to build something. I mean, 10 years old. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate that because I have children who are grown children who are 24 and 28. And I understand how hard it is to figure out what do you want to do. And most kids go to college or don't go to college not knowing, I don't know, what do I want? What do I love? I was one of those people, I have to say, very fortunate, lucky, because I always loved being creative and I always loved business. So I just went for it. From 10 years old, 7 years old, I don't know. I remember my mom taking me to the Rose Bowl flea market in Los Angeles so I can design my bedroom. I remember the chandelier I picked. I remember the textiles I made her make me cushions and duvet on. I remember the color I painted. It's so crazy. And although I didn't become an interior designer, I definitely became a creative maker and art director of sorts. And my dad was an entrepreneur. My mom was an artist. I just wanted to make it happen.
Yeah, it's just in your spirit, in your bones.
Yeah. It really has always been. And some days you wake up and it's tough, right? You go, oh my gosh, could I do this again? Here's another challenge. Here's another challenge. And then I get to market like High Point, and I'm like, wow, now I remember how much I love this, how much I love our customers, and I love the creative process and what the showroom looks like. So that keeps me driving too, that hustle.
Let's talk about the showroom. Let's talk about High Point. I feel like it was, I can't tell if it was either just yesterday or spring market.
Like 3 months ago.
Right?
How
I know. Feels like
market
yesterday
for you? And tell us about the showroom and your newest collection.
So market was surprisingly good. And I say surprisingly because we know what's going on globally that's affecting anybody who's manufacturing or selling and everything else. I did not know what to expect. And we had a really good market. We sell to interior designers as well as retailers. And when I started, it was just small retailers and you wrote business. That's what you did. Today, it's really about getting designers to know who you are, to make sure that we're in their minds as they go through their projects. So market was strong. We got a lot of visitors. We had a lot of fun. I have an amazing marketing team that designs the showroom. So people who walk into the showroom love it. They feel like they love the smell. They love the music. They love the flowers. We create a small experience or big experience in a small space.
Experience. I know. I love that.
Yeah. We think it's, there's a lot of very big players in market and we have a beautiful showroom, but we're not one of the huge players. And so when someone walks into our space, we want to make sure that they're totally taken care of. Customer service for us is really important. And that new product is being pointed out everywhere without bothering them too much.
Just letting them experience it.
Yeah. You walk in and you feel serene. The new introductions, we have some gorgeous new pieces. Everything we do is about mixed materials. It's about casual elegance. And we're just growing all of our categories. So if someone saw us 5 years ago, I say, come see us again. If someone saw us 2 years ago, come see us again. We are continuing to grow and elevate each of the categories. We started in table lamps, and yes, we do all lighting. We do occasional furniture. We do amazing accessories, and we just keep growing those categories. And mirrors.
That's what I remember when I think Jamie Young. I think lamps, really interesting lamps that I can bring into any interior I'm working on. But it sounds like, 2025, was a evolution for the collection. And it sounds like 2026 that you're expanding into even larger scale furniture. So tell us about that. What, like, every market's different. 2026 sounds like it's going to be pretty big.
Yes. Actually,
Literally.
25 October,
Oh, okay.
come
So
see a sneak
fall.
peek. Yes.
Great.
We have worked very hard, traveling the world, really working in Vietnam, India, Philippines, Indonesia. I'm actually going on another trip in 2 weeks.
I was going to say,
So
I
I personally
got
do a
back from
ton of the
India,
travel.
if social media is telling me correctly.
Yes, we just came back. We were overseas for 3.5 weeks in India and Vietnam, and that was incredible. So we're going back. I'm not going back to India this time. We've been traveling to India for basically 26 years.
Wow.
So we're really building our Vietnamese, Philippines, Indonesia sources in furniture, accent furniture, larger pieces of furniture
Can I
as
just
well.
come with you sometime, please? Okay, thanks. I'm invited myself. Anyway, continue.
Would love that. That's been part of the drive of our creativity for forever. We have some new incredible design people on staff, a director of product development that we just have been super fortunate to have Jen Gibbs come and work with us. And she has a great history in our industry. We've got Charlie, who is our marketing creative director, and she also knows the brand inside and out. So we've got this great team. And yes, we're expanding in all categories, all categories and all looks. People have known us for this kind of coastal casual luxury.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's because I was born and raised at the beach. So it's kind of instinctual to me, right? But my husband, who's been a huge part of our growth and creativity, grew up in the Midwest and lived in Aspen for years and lived all over in the mountains. And then we've traveled. So we really have a diverse look for all over the country. And that's sometimes challenging, right? For an interior designer, you have a specific look you like to build on. For the vendor, we have to make sure we touch more than one look. But we hold our brand in all of the looks. We try very hard to have a hand touch, to have mixed materials, to have incredible glazes on our ceramics. And that's been part of what our newer introductions are all about as well.
I love that statement. We hold our brand through all of the looks, because I think at our design firm, Laura U Design Collective, we're client centric. I wouldn't say that we have a specific style. We really cater to our clients. We want to know what they love and we want their homes to look like them. But there is a thread pulled through that does look like us. So I like that concept of, like, we're holding the brand within this space, but it's very much catering to the client.
We do that, the same thing. And it's hard, right? So we might create these gorgeous pieces and we all love it. And then we all ask the question, is this Jamie Young?
Right.
It's weird when I ask the question because it's my name, but I'm always like, yeah,
Jamie Young, the company, not Jamie Young, the person.
Yeah. You always have to separate the two in some way. But we always ask that question. And it might be, obviously there's the big guys out there that go to lighting for visual comfort. That's their go-to. And we're not them. We want people to know that we have enough diversity that they can come to us for many rooms in their home that they're designing. We really have that diversity, but we try to stick to what Jamie Young looks like. And is that a slightly organic edge to it? Is it that natural material mixed with a beautiful metal? Is it a woven? Is it a hide? Because we do amazing hides and leathers as well. So we're always asking the question, making sure we're staying on course.
So Jamie, tell us a little bit more about your creative process. Like, what's your role then in crafting these new pieces?
I'm very much involved. Sometimes probably too involved, right? Because, we do all these travels. We see all of these incredible factories. We look at materials and then we start designing, and we design on the spot, right?
Oh, wow.
It's never the same as sit down and have this long process and draw and design. When you travel as much as we do, you're designing in the factory, on the floor with a pencil or an iPad now, luckily, that Jen has that can we look at it and we say, what about that? What about mixing that with that? Look at that turned leg is beautiful, but I really want it to feel a little more current and not as traditional. And we design on the spot all day long. Then we go back, we have meetings a couple times a week. We all work on what about this look and this, and then we start building the collection. So I'm very involved. At the same time, I'm really standing back because I'm president of the company. So I'm making sure all of the different spokes in the wheel are moving at the same time.
And so was there a moment, because that sounds like scaling, like that's what happens when you scale. You're taking a step back from certain facets of the business to focus on what you do best, which
Yes.
if you're a larger company is being visionary or CEO or president. And so is there a moment in the business when you had to choose, like, I'm either going to stay small and keep this as, boutique, or I'm scaling up? And so when did that happen, and how'd you make that decision to scale?
It's such a great and important question. When you start a business, when I started, I had visions of big, but I had never worked in corporate America. I went to art school. I didn't go to business school. In hindsight, I wish I did, in all honesty, because probably would have helped the first 10 years, but I learned it all. So
That's true. The first 10 years. Yeah. I also am a product of art school. So
okay.
in that first 10 years, you're just winging it because
You really are. You're winging it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I, with my husband being my partner, who also went to art school, we were both like, oh, and we laughed because both of our kids are artists. So we did not. No one in the family was science or numbers. But after a while, we got it to a place where I realized, you know what? I've hit my max. I'm very, very open about what I'm good at and what I'm bad at. And I think that that's helped me grow. I'm very aware of when I can't figure something out. I need help. And about 11 or 12 years ago, we hit that point. We have to do something to move forward. The cost of running a business like ours and holding inventory is extraordinary. Understanding the banking relationships, because we actually hold the inventory to give to the designer, quickly. And one of the things we pride ourselves on is that we have inventory to ship in 2 days. So we make everybody's life a little easier because we can ship it. But to do it costs a lot of money. And so at one point we had to make that decision. And I went out and found an amazing business partner, who is our CEO, CFO, and our business partner. And he understands scale, Gary Finder. And so with Gary on that side of the business and in operations, I was able to really focus on sales, marketing, and design. And that's what happens. I don't think people talk about that a lot. And I wish more people told me that they got business partners. I really didn't know. I kept going, how are they growing? How do they have the money to do what they're doing? And I was so naive about it, right? And
because you're just bootstrapped to that point, right? You've done it all yourself.
Totally bootstrapped. I did it. We were literally like, okay, we're going to figure this out. We'll borrow money here. We have to lend money back. And but we did it. In 2008, when the world crashed, there was a big economy crash, right?
Mm-hmm.
We thought, oh gosh, is this it? How are we going to do it? And I had to get that grit and pick up the phone and talk to my landlord and say, you know what? I can't pay this rent. I can pay half of it. And at the end of the lease, when we're growing again, I can pay the second half. And he said, okay. Some of this was not being afraid.
Scrappy.
Yeah. Oh, if you're not scrappy, if you don't, you just can't be afraid of asking for what you need. As my business partner says, you don't ask, you don't get. And it's so true. Mm. So at that point, we knew if we want to take the next step, find someone who would be a good business partner. And we did. And so that's how we took the next step. He understood banking relationships and financial side of the business more than I did. I'm still very involved. I still look at everything. You can't put blinders on. You have to understand the numbers, because sales, marketing, and design still requires the understanding of numbers. Yeah. But it did free me up a bit to do more of what I love.
sounds like you've built a really great team around you as well. Like you have a good community of people. You've talked about your mom, your husband, your CFO now, your business partner, Jen. Like you've just been able to find the right people. Like how are you doing that?
Again, great point. Charlie Lowry, who is our creative director, has worked with me for over 15 years. And she's grown and really understands the brand. And I have learned how to trust her to do her job. I think a lot of this is about letting go, is trusting and letting go, still checking in, but letting go. And I have fantastic people helping us grow this business. It's certainly not me in any way. I'm a part, I'm one of the spokes in the wheel. And you have to let go. You have to have a creative vision, obviously. Who are we? What do we want to do? And you still,
where are we going?
Where are we going?
Yes.
But we continue to say we want to be incredible for our customers. And who are our customers and how can we really service them? You guys are in more of a service side of a business. We have a product, but we better think of ourselves as in a service business as well, or else we fail. So that's, having a great group is incredible. So when things get tough, you can all lean on each other. And when things are exciting, you can all celebrate, right? So, yeah.
So it sounds like, you've got this great team, you've built this amazing company. What's the importance of mentorship to you? Like, did you have a mentor and do you mentor others? And I like to ask this question because I feel like I didn't really have a specific mentor. So I'm curious about your experience with that.
I did not have creative mentors. I had people like my father's best friends that were all entrepreneurs, right? I had a cousin, honestly, in Long Island, who was a very smart businessman that I have had him as a mentor forever. So I've had certain people. I was part of YPO for a while, which is Young Presidents Association. But that was tough because I was the only woman. And I love the men, but I found it to be a very different experience of what my needs were and what theirs were in these programs. So, but I'm a pretty curious person. So I'm always trying to ask other people things. And I have worked really, really hard and continue to in bettering myself and really being open to it. So I'm always searching for more mentors to help in every stage of where I am, right, in life. As far as mentoring others, I love it. I am open to it. I have different people that I talk to. I have my kids' friends are now of that age in their 20s that trying to figure out what they want. So we have these long conversations all the time. So yes, I think both sides are critical, but it's hard. I remember the first 10 years, again, older men who've done business, they can mentor me only so far, right? They don't understand I was selling a lamp. They were doing real estate or big, whatever. But business is business, and they kept encouraging me.
And I almost feel like from that perspective, like having a MBA or a business background can almost be, and this is going to sound silly, but a detriment to starting a creative agency or firm or product company. Like if you are thinking about like, oh, they're doing commercial real estate or they've gotten an MBA because they're going to run a Fortune 500 company, that's very different than what you've built. Like, do you feel like you were at a disadvantage because you didn't have that business background?
Well, I think that I was, in a good way, naive, right? Like I just said, I'm going to do this. I just was like, I'm going for it. I remember one of the first things one of my father's closest friends said to me is, everybody has an idea, Jamie. It's just an idea until you do it. And it really, I had to just push through that and say, yep, I have an idea and I think I have the ability to go for it.
Now I can execute. Yeah.
Now I can execute. And I really pushed through on that. But there was a lot of people who kind of not discouraged me, but made me feel like maybe I don't know what I'm doing. I,
Really?
yeah, just like I remember speaking to a sales rep who had a showroom in LA, and he had been around a long time and he was super smart. And I said, I'm going to start this thing. And he really discouraged me. He says, why would you want to do this? Do you know how hard this is? It takes money and time and you have to travel. And I was like, oh, you know, shoot, I'm going for it anyway. So I went through it. I didn't think about being a female versus male. I just said, I'm going for it. And I ignored people who made me feel like I couldn't do it. I had a weird drive about it and said, screw it.
I mean, I think that's great. I approach things the same way, so I
Yeah.
totally get it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I like to subscribe to like Richard Branson's idea of just screw it, just do it. Like what else are you doing? Like you might as well go for it. What else are you
Yes.
doing? Go.
I think this idea that we try to teach our kids about failure being okay.
Yeah.
That's a hard lesson. It's easy to say it. It's easy to go, kids, don't worry, you're going to fail. But what does it actually mean? It means you take risk and you don't know where you're going and you go for it. And I do believe creatively, I continue to wake up and say, I'm just going to go for it. I mean, today we have huge global logistical challenges. The words global logistical, I never thought were going to be in my vocabulary, in all honesty, right? Again, art school. Now, because we produce around the world, and I love producing around the world, as much as I would love to produce in the USA, the reality is you have to find this beautiful blend that works and that is still affordable for your customer. And you can produce it, you can ship it, you can make money on it, you can pay your employees because of it. Like there's this whole thing. So, in the last month, with all the chaos, I still have to wake up every day and go, okay, we can do this. We can shift. We can take a deep breath. We don't have to react. We don't know what's happening, but we can keep going. And I encourage everybody doing that, doing design and looking for product and to do the same thing. It's like, it'll unfold. We'll get back to where we need to be.
You had said, and maybe this was in Women in Their Own Words article, that reinvention is everything. And I'd love for you to share, we talked about risk too. So I'd love for you to share a time when reinvention may have felt like a risk, but ended up being the key to a breakthrough for you, or like, I needed to reinvent at this point, or I needed to pivot at this point.
Honestly, happens a lot.
I know, I was going to say this is like an everyday occurrence.
It sort of is. But every couple of years, you have to stop and look at what you're doing. We started a business as what they call mix and match of shades and bases. And people knew us from years ago with these gorgeous textiles on shades, and you can buy a shade separate than your base. It was really good. It put us on the map. It, got us on the cover of Neiman Marcus and Martha Stewart and all those things that really helped us grow. We even got an article in Elle Decor when we first started, a 2-page, like, who's a new maker. I had 3 lamps and 6 shades. And
wow.
I know, it was so funny. And but it was so helpful because I had done something that wasn't being done and I took risk. And then you get comfortable because you start making money and start growing a business. And then one day you say, wow, everyone is caught up on these ideas. I got to do it again. I got to do it again. Just like people knocking us off. For years, I'd be so upset. I'd spend all this energy on whoever taking an idea we had and it being bigger than us and being able to execute in a bigger way. And today I just take a deep breath. I'm like, okay, we can do it again. And so I'm constantly reinventing. Right now, I think we're in a huge reinvention because we're really scaling up as far as furniture, materials, price point, getting to that higher price point, but still reachable, right? Still, even in our designs, casual elegance is always going to be part of who we are. I don't do high-end traditional glam. I probably wouldn't be good at it, but I do our versions because of the way we personally live, right? Where we love gorgeous things, but it still has to be enough when our boys are running through the house as kids throwing a football that I can't control, right? That I don't even want to control. Like I love that. So I think nothing is too precious in what we do. And that's how I take it. But to get back to, yes, I take risk and reinvent, and I'm not afraid of it. In fact, I'm probably one of those people, like my husband, when I shift him, it takes him a beat. You know, when I see in my employees, when I have to shift them, move their cheese, as they say, everybody gets a little bit of paralysis until they can get forward. I am the opposite. And I have to actually calm myself down a little bit and say, okay, I'll take a beat and then shift again.
That probably sounds familiar, Melissa.
Does it?
I admire that in other people because I'm not like that. I mean,
And that's why we work so well together, because I am very much like that.
You are. Laura and I have a lot in common. I have this feeling, right? Yeah. Melissa, how do you do it? Because I surround myself with people who are more structured than me because it helps me.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more structured. The risk is difficult for me because my thought is always like, well, then I'm broke. You know,
It'll be fine. We'll just do it again.
That's why that's always the fear. You know, my family is not wealthy. Like there's never been, like, for me, risk was bankruptcy. Like there was just, it was always just like, what's the worst possible thing that can happen? And so I think you end up growing up with this kind of scarcity mindset in a way of just like always looking for what's the worst thing. And so I think that's why I love working with Laura, is because she doesn't again, like failure to her is just a learning opportunity. And that's just not how I grew up. And so I love seeing, I feel like every entrepreneur that I've ever met, there's that common thread of being able to take risk, wanting to take that risk, and being okay with failure. And that's still something that I really struggle with.
I love that honesty. I think honest it resonates because I don't want someone to think I take risk without fear, because it's very much there. I grew up comfortably, but we did this business on our own. And I promise you, when my kids were little, I was thinking about college, and I go, okay, if I can sell this many lamps, literally went down to counting how many lamps I could sell to get the money to put them in college or put it away. That's how I just kept going from those all I have to do is A, B, and maybe I can get to C. So I was always going back. I had that fear in me for sure. But I also had that feeling like I was going to land okay. I still have it. It doesn't ever go away. I don't know about you, but you know, it's real.
You know, it's interesting too, Melissa, that you bring up growing up, worrying about like one decision is going to put us into bankruptcy. And I didn't grow up with money. Like my family was not wealthy. My dad is an entrepreneur. He was, he made his money as I got older. I'm the oldest out of three. And so like, I didn't grow up that way. So for me, when I started this business, I was kind of like, what do I have to lose? Like I don't know. I didn't have kids yet. There just wasn't a lot to lose. But now I feel like the more I see success or the more comfortable I get, it almost increases the fear because I do have something to lose at this point. So I don't know. I think I'm less of a risk taker now maybe than I was when I started, or I'm just more, I consider it more, every single thing.
Well, the higher we go, the farther you fall. Is that the expression?
I guess, but I'm like, I mean, I still will take a risk.
I think that it's really important at any stage of your business to not be afraid of that, because you can get complacent. And then and when you get complacent, you start losing some of that share out there, the market share. That's important because some bigger company, there's always someone bigger than us, right? That's what I've learned.
Or someone scrappier, maybe not even bigger.
Always someone scrappier.
There's someone new for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, my competitive side is much bigger than I ever thought.
Yeah.
Honestly, right? I never played sports. But people always teased me like, you're pretty competitive. And I'm like, I'm a competitive in that competitive, hard word, that it drives me. Right. And so I see in our industry a few bigger players. And unfortunately, today, I think it's much harder to start a business. So I don't see smaller players as easily, right? Because it's not as easy as it was before to go, I'm going to make something and I'm going to sell it. I'm going to figure out how to produce it. It just,
Why do you think it's harder? Just because of the competitive landscape?
I think that, I think so. I think it costs more money today. I think that there's a handful of bigger players that are taking up all the categories. And so to get to the designers, to get to the retailers, you have to spend a lot more money. You know, you can't just go to a trade show and stand there and wait for people to come to you. Right. It doesn't work anymore. You have to do that. But you better have an amazing
approach.
Yes, you have to have a great website. You have to have great salespeople. You have to have great sales materials. You have to have marketing and social media, and or you don't have exposure. Now, on the flip side, younger people who have started and just go boom on social media directly have a huge audience.
Yeah,
which is a different thing. They're selling a service. They're not necessarily selling a product that can be produced, right? It's just different landscape. But you have to stay innovative. And I'm not afraid of innovation. I'm not afraid of technology. I welcome all of it because it's the way the world is, and that's good.
Is there a time where you felt like you were complacent? Like you just kind of lost steam and you're like, I'm going to take a beat and I am complacent right now and I see it and it's happening.
Has there been a time? Absolutely. I would say to you after COVID,
you're just exhausted.
Yeah. I was exhausted. We stayed open. We had, one of the best years we've ever had because people were home and they wanted home furnishings. And that was amazing. It was sort of a false sense of security. Yeah. Melissa, so it was like you were like, oh, wow, I'm golden. And then you realize that part of it was that no one left their home, right? So they were, we would giggle. We were selling so many table lamps. What were they doing with them? Like, are they eating our table lamps? Like, we didn't understand. But it was because every single person was sitting at home looking at their home and saying, oh gosh, I need to change this. I need to change that. So there was this fabulous moment that happened. And then it came back down to normal. And what does normal look like? And I was so tired and I didn't know what to look for in normal because during COVID, it was very hard to create new. We couldn't travel. Everything was on Zoom. Everything was moving slowly. It was really expensive to bring product in. The cost of a container, which I get the designers aren't thinking about this, right? That's not their job. But as a maker, the cost of a container went from $2,000 to $20,000. So wow, it was extraordinary, right? Yeah. So you had to think about all these things to get product. So I was tired after that. And it took us a little time to go, what's next? Yeah. And now we're back and like we know we're doing furniture, more mirrors, more accessories, unique, incredible accessories, portable lamps, and incredible fixtures. Like we're touching all of it and having so much fun with it.
So cool.
I feel like, and complacency may not be the word, burnout, but that period of burnout, what you're describing really aligns with what I experienced too. Melissa was there with me through this. Like she saw this firsthand. I don't know if you felt the same level of it, Melissa, but like, I'm sure you saw me go through it too. Like you come out of COVID, we were firing on all cylinders. We had double the amount of, maybe even more than that, double the amount of projects annually. Our team doubled almost. And it was exhausting. It was wonderful. Don't get me wrong. Like best revenue years we've ever had, but I came out of it going, holy shit, like that was terrible. And now I'm exhausted. I don't want to do anything. And almost like this could burn to the ground and just let it at this point because I'm so tired. But I feel like it really took me till last year, maybe, Melissa. I don't know. When did we start talking about this?
I mean, I think we talk about it off and on. Like for me, this stuff is really seasonal and it's cyclical. Like there's often times where, and especially like with marketing, since that's what I manage, it's really easy to get burnt out
Yeah.
with how to do that. But it's usually like at the beginning of the year, like the beginning of this year, we're talking about like just getting out of some burnout and getting excited for the rest of the year. And like that's when you kind of
Yeah.
climb on out of it.
Yeah.
I think we have these expectations, right, of ourselves that we're supposed to always be 100% in our A game. And it's impossible.
Yeah.
I think when you give yourself some grace, you get back to it faster, right? When you allow for a beat of like, okay, I don't feel inspired. Like that happens to me.
Yes.
And then I have to leave, go somewhere I haven't been for a while and walk the streets and see something different and get back to innovation and creativity that's different, that got us, how'd we start, right? The gap back to the original, like, why did we get so excited? But it's hard. And I will tell you from marketing, and I love marketing, but I know that you guys, what you do and keeping up with every nuance of how to do it differently. Oh my goodness. It's hard because it moves so fast. Do we do advertising? Do we not do advertising? Is it so, are we getting a return and the ROI? Oh my gosh. You just go.
We have these conversations nonstop. I know.
Right. And you want to be innovative and you want to be open-minded and you want to think about social media and how many followers you have and what's important. But at the same time, you still have to think about those old, true ideas about marketing, about branding, about who you are, and take a beat. You know, I'm going to keep saying the same thing. You take a big, deep breath. Am I doing it right? And is there a right and wrong? And you try this and then you come back here. It's a lot. I see it.
Yeah. But I think you're right. At the end of the day, it's still connection, right? And I mean, it doesn't matter how you're doing it, whether it's social media or it's in person at High Point, you know, you're looking to make that emotional connection with your audience.
It is. And I know for Jamie Young Company, we have about 1,000 SKUs in the line. And that's, some people say, oh my goodness, that's a lot of things to look at. And in our world, it's probably not enough, right? In each category, I want a little bit more. I want to elevate more. I don't want 3, 4, 5,000, but we're pushing now to have more. So when a designer comes into the space, they can say, these mirrors work in the primary suite and the guest room and the bathroom. And then we have, get them early enough so that they see we have some amazing wall sconces and chandeliers for when they're doing their hardwire at the beginning. And then accent tables and garden stools, and the accessories obviously come at the very end. But you have to keep it pushing, right? It doesn't stop. So you take a break, you feel burnt out, and then you wake up and do it again. I always think, what would I do if I just got a job, whatever that means.
Or retire.
What's that? No, my husband, who started with me, he actually retired this year in general.
Oh, good for him.
So he's a little bit older than me. He's been designing with me for 27 years. He still will travel with me around the world and have his input, but he's taken that next place. I'm not ready in any way. I still have this drive to keep it and see what the next steps are, but I certainly look at balance. Especially now my kids, if I had a 13-year-old, I obviously wouldn't have the same balance ability as I do today.
Yeah, it does kind of throw a wrench into things.
It's an amazing wrench, but it is.
And Melissa has a 13-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Oh, okay then.
So yeah.
I'm always like burnout. Okay.
Yes. what they need from you when they're in high school is very different than what they need from you when you're 3,
You would
right?
almost think they would need less, but they really don't.
They need less of you physically. I was just talking to my sister-in-law about this literally at 7:00 this morning. Because she's a business owner, and we were talking about the needs. Like in high school, they just need your brain. You just need to be present for them because they're going to come to you.
Present. Yes, they need you to be present. When they are little bitty, they're like babies, infants, toddlers, I don't know. I feel like it's almost easier, even though it is like it's physical. Like it's so physical. Now it's so emotional. 13-year-old girls, I'm like, holy moly.
Are yours boys or girls, Melissa, or both?
My 3-year-old is a boy and my 13-year-old is a girl. So I feel like I'm dealing with the worst of both worlds at the same time.
I'm so sorry. It's true, right?
My 3-year-old boy, because I think you said you have boys, right? Like
I have 2 boys.
I mean, that if he could get inside my body again, he would.
He's just on you.
I know they're scrumptious though at that. I mean, they were right. They were just like, and I remember because I took them all over the world with us at a pretty young age because we had to travel, right? So they would be like, I remember we took them to India and they were boys, but my husband and I were both readers. They're huge readers. They love history and travel. So from a young age, I was able to, I mean, they were active, right? They were constant, but something about boys, they weren't as dramatic. So it was a little easier traveling with them to these bizarre parts of the world, I think, than what I've heard from my friends than girls.
We haven't done a big trip with the girls since this new phase has started. The last time we took them just all over the place was when they were 10, 11 probably. And that was before the hormones really kicked in. So we'll see how it goes now. Now we take shorter trips. It's not the 6 weeks across Europe. It's like,
oh my God. Yeah.
Now I think they would maybe murder each other. I'm not sure.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. Girls they're just different, right? I have, yeah. Balancing and also really balancing life and work, right? Which we all try.
Like you really integrated it though. Let's balance more integrated. Like you just took them. They just went. Yeah.
Yeah. I never stopped. I just integrated. I remember mom saying, "You're taking your kids out of school." They were in like
absolutely. That's what I'm doing. We're going.
We're going. We took them to a country called Bhutan, which is
that's on my list.
It's amazing. But we went.
I just heard the Prime Minister speak here at Aspen Institute.
Oh,
really? It was amazing. Yes.
So we met him.
Oh, isn't he so charming?
So charming. We were there when they told their country that they no longer were going to have a king.
Oh, yeah.
And it was fascinating. And we study Buddhism. And so we were there with our kids. It felt like Raiders of the Lost Ark. We were in these like old temples and they were chanting, these old Buddhist monks. And our kids and I were sitting in there in the middle of the night with thousands of people from all over. It was the craziest experience.
That's so magical.
And all I could think is, how could someone tell me that wasn't okay for them? Yeah. Right? Like, what are they going to learn?
More out of that than they did out of their school day.
Yes.
Out of 5th grade. Yeah. And we continued. We took them to India. We took them to Thailand. We took them to Cambodia. And today they're amazing travelers, one, but they also really appreciate the business side of the challenge of producing something. The fact that it even gets to our country, like we still are in awe that this small factory produced this thing. It got on a truck, it got on a container, it got on the water, and then it got to our warehouse. Like, how did that happen? We take for granted.
Lots of work and logistical planning.
You still want this beautiful product that we know can be used in a lot of environments and be at the right price. Like, oh my goodness, it's a lot. But I say all this and I'm like, look, we keep doing it, which is great.
I know, it's incredible. It's exciting.
Yeah. It's great.
Now I want to go grab my kids and just be like, let's go.
Well, I think as they got older, by the time they were in high school, that got a little harder.
I know. That's why. So my girls are about to be in 8th grade and we're planning a big something during pulling them out of school during their 8th grade year and going and having just like this family experience together. Cause I feel like by the time they're in high school, that's over. It's not going to happen.
Well, their lives change, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's lives kind of start figuring out what they want, just like we did.
Can I just go in reverse for like just 5 years back?
I know.
Well, I know we're coming up on time. So I just wanted to ask, okay, you mentioned this earlier. If you could, this is random. If you could have any job, like you didn't have your own company, you're just working a job that you were passionate about, what would that job be? What's your fallback job?
I have a lot of fallback jobs, but I think what I would have done was probably become a creative director, an art director, whether it's in film, in media. I think that's probably somehow what I would have always loved. I mean, I also wish I learned how to cut hair, to be honest with you. I think that's the coolest thing ever. I have some of my closest friends are hairdressers, and I've always wanted to do it, and I'm terrible at it. But it's always been something creative director. My kids are more in the film world, and we talk about producing and creating, and that's what I love to do. So I would do it anywhere I could.
Melissa, what's your fallback job? I forget.
I'd be a writer.
A writer.
A writer?
Yeah.
Like creative writer?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Or a poet, something like that. Sitting somewhere and writing things down, not having to sell it, not having to commoditize it. Vibing.
Doesn't that sound nice?
Yeah.
Well, you can come to my coffee shop because I will be a barista.
Oh my gosh. See? I'll be next door cutting hair and probably cutting flowers.
I love this. This all sounds so dreamy.
It does sound dreamy. And you know what? Writing, I will slip this in because I think it's so important. A few years ago, I work with a coach, and he basically was like, what do you do when you're not doing anything? Like, what's your downtime? Do you read? And I said, I'm always reading self-help and business and child raising. I'm like, and he said, no. Like, what do you read just to read? And he got me involved in romance novels.
Oh my gosh, me too.
Well, he didn't get me. I just remember going, I'm going to read a romance novel. Now, I don't even meditate anymore. I just read romance novels. You too?
Same. It's a problem.
That is so great. Doesn't it help your brain?
Yes.
It's so great.
Yes. I gave up alcohol and wine, and I just read my romance novel.
I think that's so interesting because my kids are super snobby about what to read. You know,
so is Melissa.
But Melissa, you know what's funny is I finally got them. Like at first I was hiding it, and they were like, what are you reading? And I'd already read all the books they read.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I've already done a lot of the deep reading and the great novels. And now it was like, I just want to disappear in a really nice way with a happy ending.
Yes. I totally agree with you. Oh my gosh. This must be like, you're an Enneagram 3. You have to be.
I'm a what?
Enneagram 3.
What is that?
Oh, well, I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to text you it's like a personality type, which also Melissa doesn't agree with, but,
I love that. Well, send it to me.
I will.
Because I think we have so many, we're similar. And then Melissa, you are like who I surround myself with.
Yes.
Right. It's very important to have that balance.
You need that balance for all this crazy.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been really fun.
Oh, thanks so much. I really enjoyed it too. Let me know if there's any other questions or follow-up I can help with.
Yes. Oh, and if you haven't heard enough from Jamie from the podcast, please be sure and go back to our website and search Women in Their Own Words. And Jamie did a really wonderful interview with our editor-in-chief, Elizabeth. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Thank you for listening. Make sure to check out our next podcast coming live next week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. In the meantime, you can find us and more wonderful stories like these on designdash.com. And make sure to follow us at Design Dasher on Instagram and TikTok. Till next time.